How can we teach our children to value purity in the midst of our culture? How can we begin to instill those values at a very young age?
Wisdom is something that you all should desperately desire for yourselves as well as your children. Wisdom is basically taking knowledge, things that you know to be true, and again, we're talking the Bible as our resource, taking that knowledge and then utilizing it. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the tool, and it can only be used properly, just like a computer, if you have the right input. You need to understand why, and then you need to instill it in their hearts so that it's something that they own. Yeah. They don't just understand it, but they own it, and they truly believe what it is that you're trying to tell them. And so if modesty, for instance, is something worth practicing in your home, and we say it is because that's where purity starts, it needs to be with that process. It's a whole lot of communication. It's a whole lot of, this is why, sweetheart. It's a whole lot of, this is what a boy thinks when he sees you wearing that, sweetheart. You know, does that make sense? And if they understand why, then the dialogue can continue even further to have it be ingrained in their heart and have it realize that not only do I understand that, but I agree with that, and that makes sense. And then she's less apt to throw the mini skirt in her backpack and put it on when she gets to school.
The heart is so critical to this, and wisdom is so critical to this. Now, wisdom is something which you as a parent have to offer your children. Scripture says that foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. And what that means is that if the primary sources of input for your child are other children, then they will live in a world of fools. I mean, we love them, but they just will do foolish things. So your job is, as the parent, to be wise, not foolish. But that's not automatic, because you know what? You can be in your 20s and be foolish. You can be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., and be foolish because you haven't learned along the way.
If you want to instill purity in your children, if you still aren't totally convinced that purity is God's way for you, then how are you going to do it for your kids? And so it starts with you.
So I think one of the things that we have to do is to make sure, in terms of cultivating purity in the home, related to the question, is to make sure that we are pursuing a life of sexual purity and that we are modeling purity. And one of the ways to do that when you're watching television is the immediate change of the channel when the commercial comes on. Often we would, flip it up to PBS or, something where you might be seeing something on evolution or something, but it might not philosophically be, exactly worldview, but at least it's not this image and then we come back to the program that we're watching and using your discernment as you watch. And if you model that, see, if a little girl, little boy grows up in a home where the moment something inappropriate comes on, that channel is changed, then that registers with, okay, if I look and my eyes go over here and I see something I shouldn't see, I should do the equivalent of the channel change. Immediately turn away. And your kids get really good at that. We did that in our home, and Angie was great. She'd be, the moment something going on, change the channel, like that, or she'd grab it and change the channel. And that's great. That's exactly what you want to cultivate in your kids, but it's not going to happen unless that's a value that you try to model.